In 2018, a scientist named He Jiankui announced that he had changed the genes of twin embryos, creating the first gene-edited babies in history. He had enough knowledge and technology to do it, but not enough approval, supervision, or full understanding of the possible consequences. Many news outlets compared him to Victor Frankenstein, calling him China's Frankenstein. Well, more than 200 years earlier, Mary Shelley had already given us this message. Her novel Frankenstein is not a celebration of scientific achievements, but a warning about what can happen when the pursuit of knowledge goes too far. Today, I will argue that Frankenstein demonstrates how the desire for discovery can become dangerous when the limits are ignored and the consequences of one's actions. This message was shaped by Shelley's own era, yet it remains just as relevant in today's world. Victor Frankenstein does not accidentally create a disaster, he deliberately pursues it. He becomes consumed by his desire to uncover the, and I quote, cause of generation and life, admitting that his craving for knowledge grew into, and I quote, a resistless and almost frantic impulse. That word is important. Impulse. It suggests that his ambition is no longer guided by reason or careful judgment. When his experiment finally had succeeded and the creature came to life, Victor was completely unprepared for the consequences. He admits that he was, and I quote, unable to endure the aspect of the being he had created, and that he, and I quote, rushed out of the room. Instead of accepting what he had done, he had abandoned it. We see a similar pattern in He Jiankui's gene editing experiment. He pushed CRISPR technology beyond ethical limits by editing human embryos before safety testing and approval were in place. Like Victor, he tried to achieve a scientific breakthrough, but didn't consider the consequences of his actions. However, ambition alone is not the whole warning. Shelley makes something very clear. Scientific progress becomes harmful not because of the discovery itself, but what comes after, when the people refuse to take ownership of what they've created or invented. Consider the creature. He was not born a monster. As he states, I was benevolent and good, misery made me a fiend. His violence is not part of his nature. It developed when Victor abandoned him and society rejected him. Shelley suggests that the true danger is not the creation itself, but the creator's refusal to accept responsibility for what he has brought into the world. Victor repeats this failure when he destroys the female creature before bringing her back to life. Instead of making a thoughtful decision, he acts out of fear, admitting that he was, and I quote, trembling with passion as he tore to pieces the thing on which he was engaged. Even when given a second opportunity, he lets emotion guide his actions rather than accepting the obligations that come with his work. The author's warning remains relevant today. Researchers from Stanford, Princeton, and Virginia Tech have found that the safety guidelines built into publicly released AI systems are less effective than developers believe. Like Victor Frankenstein, we continue to introduce powerful technologies into society without fully understanding their risk or preparing for their long-term consequences. Some may argue that this interpretation is too modern, that we are reading today's concern about artificial intelligence and gene editing into a novel that was written over 2 centuries ago. However, Shelley's message was never an accident. It is built into the novel from the very beginning. For example, let's think about the subtitle in the book, The Modern Prometheus. In fact, in Greek mythology, Prometheus is punished for stealing fire from the gods and giving it to humanity, which is a symbol of reaching beyond human limits. This reference was chosen specifically by the author, hinting the warning before the story even begins. By the novel's conclusion, Victor delivers his own judgment on his life's work. He warns Walton to, and I quote, seek happiness and tranquility and avoid ambition, even if it be only the apparently innocent one of distinguishing yourself in science and discoveries. These are not the words of someone celebrating a scientific achievement. They are the words of a man urging another to not repeat his mistakes. This message was also shaped by Shelley's experiences. She wrote Frankenstein after the death of her infant daughter while still living the impact of her mother's death during childbirth. At the same time, Europe was very fascinated by galvanism, the use of electricity to simulate dead tissues. Surrounded by debates on the science's power over life and death, Shelley transforms these concerns into one universal warning about the ethical limits of human ambition. So, is Frankenstein a warning or an homage to modern scientists? By now, I hope the answer is very obvious. This is not a story that criticizes scientific discoveries, but the pursuit of knowledge without ethical limits or accountability. Today, her message remains just as relevant. As technologies like gene editing and artificial intelligence continue to advance, we have to make sure that innovation is guided by careful judgment and responsibility. More than 200 years later, Mary Shelley's warning still continues to challenge us. The question is whether we are finally prepared to learn from it or not. Thank you.